shining pair of them. Howdy.
Afternoon.
Say, aren't you Ned Pomeroy?
Yes, sir, Mr. Judd.
Well, in that case, though it pains me, I'll admit my speed.
That's not the reason why we stopped you, sir.
No?
You mind telling me where you're headed?
Hotel, I guess. Sent a couple of my people out the other day to set us up an office.
We'll give you a police escort. Compliments to the district attorney.
Well, now, that's real friendly.
Town ain't friendly, Mr. Judd. That's why we're here. We may be the last friendly faces you see.
Cigarette?
Mm-hmm. A long time, Brandon, since I saw you last. You're about 11 or 12, I guess. Crying, as I recall. Probably some kid had picked a fight with you. About your father.
Peace, man. Are you coming in peace?
A trial is not a peaceful procedure. It's a small war, and it's beginning mighty soon for you. So, sit down. I want your story.
How do you want it?
Plain English.
A little Freudian footwork, maybe? Yeah, oddball father, the wandering mother.
Is that why you hate this town?
Wouldn't you? They called your old man a freak just because he was an inventor and they taught their kids to throw rocks at him. What would you do, huh?
Is that why you're taking over those kids?
I'm just collecting a debt, man.
What debt?
My old man finally sold a patent, you know, and it made him rich. And rich is what those people out there respect. My old man died before he got a chance to spit back at him. And I'm just collecting that pleasure for him.
Were you collecting it on the night of August the 12th?
I didn't kill those two girls. I didn't do it.
Tell me about that Tuesday night.
Simply told. Me and these two chicks, we're down on the strip. It's drive-in territory in town where all the action is. And one of us, I don't know, maybe it's me, suggested going out to the Miller's Pond for a swim. But once on the spot, we never got wet because the two chicks started to violence each other like over me, man.
I hear. Go on.
Anyway, I don't like violence. So I hopped in my car and I left those two surprise chicks just standing there. And later on I went back, but they had split. So I split. Everything was okay, except on the way back, this big tree was standing in the middle of the road and I hit it.
You wrecked the car?
Yeah, I told you.
And after the accident?
I went home.
Well, that's kind of far to walk, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but this kid, Jamie Overson, came along and took me home.
That doesn't appear in the transcript of the hearing. Have you mentioned it before?
Everybody knows it.
What was your relationship with the girls?
I don't have relationships.
With girls?
With anybody. Listen, man, you don't have to be my lawyer, okay?
Here's your mother's check. All the way from northern India. You want to tear it up?
No, you tear it up. I got all I needed out of you anyway.
What was that?
Publicity. You understand that? No, you don't understand it, do you? You see, those people out there are gonna kill me for something I didn't do. Those high-minded hypocrites out there. And, I just don't want to die in the dark, man. Don't tear that check up. I need you. Man, I need you bad.
What's the matter?
Father of one of the missing girls out there. Wayne York.
Well, let's get to work. Irma Louise York, age 16. Teresa Ann Brendler.
Age 17. Both seen with Brandon Hill at various places on a particular Tuesday night and then seen no more.
Mr. Judd, a couple of potential witnesses in what will be called our outer office.
Brandon didn't kill anyone, Mr. Judd.
Yeah, Brandon wouldn't hurt anyone.
You see, we know him. And he's the most exciting thing ever happened to us.
That's why the Whigs are rapping him, because we all look up to him.
Who all is we?
Well, that's the trouble. There's just a few of us.
There used to be more, but the rest of them are sitting on the fence.
Well, tell me this, you faithful few. What do you think happened to Terry Ann Brendler and Irma Louise York?
Ran away.
How do you know?
Well, I joined in the search that looked for him. We couldn't find a thing. I covered every inch of these hills with a helicopter.
What helicopter?
His father's.
So will you put us on the witness stand?
Now, what you kids have to say to a jury wouldn't prove that cows eat corn.
Oh, please, Mr. Judd. We want to help Brandon. We've got to help him. You tell us what to say.
Honey, if that's an offer to commit perjury, I didn't hear it. Now, you all run along home.
You know who they are? One, Jamie Hoverson, Brandon's best friend. And Carol Sue York, sister of one of the missing girls.
The state will prove the accused, Brandon Hill, did take Irma Louise York, age 16, and Teresa Ann Brendler, age 17. And in a carefully chosen spot, with only the blackness of the night and the desert wind as...
We get that cleaned up. Court will take a 10-minute recess.
Clumsy of me.
And time just right.
I'll take it as a compliment.
That's a mess. Boy.
I just hope there isn't something you're holding out on me.
Mrs. York, do you recall any particular incident involving your daughter, Irma Louise, on the night of August 12th?
Yes, I do.
And the day of the week was?
Tuesday.
Tuesday, and the time was?
About 8.
About 8. Now, will you tell the court, please, in your own words, what happened on that Tuesday night, about 8 o'clock?
Brandon Hill came around with his car. And then Irma Louise finally went out to talk to him.
Finally went out?
He honked the horn several times, and then she went out. Then I saw them talking for a while. But he did most of the talking.
Well, ma'am, did you happen to overhear what was said?
No. But then I saw him take her arm, and he sort of pulled her into the car. They drove off.
Is anybody else in the car with him?
Terry and Brandon.
Brandon Hill drove off in his car with Terry Ann Brendler and your daughter. When was it you saw your daughter again?
Never. She never came home again.
Defense may cross-examine.
Miss York, let me ask you this, please, ma'am. Did your daughter ever threaten to run away?
No.
Did she ever say, as so many teenagers do in the course of a family argument, now you keep coming at me, Mom, I'll clean up and leave? Did she ever say anything at all like that?
Maybe she did, but she didn't mean it.
Or more accurately, you never thought she meant it?
Objection.
I believe it's already been answered.
Mrs. York, how many times did your daughter go out with Brandon? Was it just a few times or many times?
Many times.
And she always returned safe and sound, didn't she?
Yes. Before that last time.
Mrs. York, is there any good reason in the world why this boy, who never harmed your daughter all those other times, would suddenly harm her this time?
Yes. If that was the time she told him she was pregnant.
Please instruct the jury to disregard that.
Yes, is responsive.
The witness has established no knowledge of any alleged
I
pregnancy.
will not have this. Mr. Judd, Mr. Tanner.
Your Honor, I did inform Mrs. York about her daughter's condition. I did this to spare her the shock of hearing it for the first time in the open court.
Your Honor, is he presenting himself as a witness?
I will present a Houston physician, Your Honor. The girl went to him under an assumed name on Monday the 11th. That was the day before she...
Sounds like Jamie. Come on.
It's like somebody up there digs me there.
Trying to do up there?
I think he's trying to tell some people he's still on Brandon's side.
Inspector, this is the sheriff. We'll get through to Jamie and tell him he's going to get his license lifted. And this time I mean it.
Hello, Sam. I'm meaning to come over and say hello to you.
Thought maybe you forgot me.
I couldn't forget you, Sam.
Well, now, when a man forgets how his own father died, he could forget anything.
Sheriff, what was that about Mr. Judd's father?
And Judd was sheriff here before me. Shot down right across that square by a man that should have been executed a year before. And I had a right good murder case on that man. Till some smart-nosed lawyer got him off.
Now, Mr. Holby, I'll show you this Army surplus spade and ask you, sir, if you heard the testimony of Deputy Sheriff Cale that this was found in the cellar of the defendant's home.
I did, sir.
Now, sir, what other information, if any, do you have concerning this shovel?
Well, I examined it in my laboratory and found on it specimens of soil mixed together with specimens of human female hair.
That's what I see, and I guess that's just about all you were able to determine, wasn't it?
No, sir. I ran comparison tests with the hair of various known individuals and found that the hair on the shovel is a perfect match for the hair of Teresa Ann Brendler.
Mr. Holby, I now show you this pair of denim trousers and ask if you heard the testimony of Deputy Cale that they were found on the floor in a closet of the defendant's home.
Yes, sir.
What other knowledge, if any, do you have concerning these trousers?
Well, I examined them in my laboratory and found them to be stained with human blood, which group and test established as blood type O.
Well, sir, were you able to make any other comparisons concerning this case?
None for the Brendler girl. But Irma Louise York had a tonsillectomy at County Hospital 6 years ago. Now, their records show that her blood type is also type O.
Type O?
Yes, sir.
Defense may cross-examine.
Mr. Holby, you said that Irma Louise York has blood type O. Isn't it a fact that half of the population of the United States has that very same type of blood?
Well, it's no private club.
No. What type of blood does Brandon Hill have?
Well, sir, I'm not sure.
While you were checking out blood types, you didn't bother to check Brandon Hill's.
Well, I had no knowledge that he lost any blood at that time.
Oh, you didn't know that on the night in question, this boy was in an auto wreck?
Well, I guess I heard about it later.
You mean to say it never dawned on you that the blood on Brandon's denim pants could belong to Brandon?
I don't know how to answer that one. Mr. Hobie, I don't blame you.
What do you mean his condition?
You stated that you saw the defendant standing by the wreck of his automobile. Now, was he cut?
Well, kind of.
Was he bleeding?
Well, yes and no.
Son, you gotta make up your mind. Which is it?
Well, the blood was all dried up.
Meaning? Those scratches had nothing to do with the wreck of his car.
Counsel is leading his witness.
A hostile witness, Your Honor. Good heavens, Judge, we had to practically shoot that boy down out of the sky to drag him in here.
Proceed, Mr. Tanner.
What's this all about? Listen, son, I want you to remember the penalty for perjury.
Look, all I know is what Brandon told me.
What? What did Brandon tell you?
Well, he told me he wrecked his car. Because he already had these scratches, and he...
No further questions.
Will the court please declare a 10-minute recess? I'd like to confer with my client.
Granted. This court will take a 10-minute recess.
Why didn't you tell me you deliberately wrecked your car?
You didn't ask me.
Well, I'm asking you now. Why did you do it?
Look, man, I told you those two chicks were fighting over me. And I jumped in between them, and they started scratching, man, and I got blood on me. Their blood, my blood, I don't know. Anyway, when they turned up missing, I figured, Brandon, you better get yourself an explanation.
Before you were accused.
Oh, man, didn't I know this tightweight town would accuse me? Didn't I know that?
Mr. Judd, I just brought a man into court. Everybody's staring at you. Want to have a look?
Why Waldo Reese?
I don't know.
Surprise witness? At least you expected there might be one.
Oh, man, that's just dirty old Reese. You'll chop him up like hamburger meat.
Dirty old Reese. I owe that man something.
I'm your client, baby. You owe me the last drop of sweat on your brow.
Baby, you'll get your sweat. But you may owe me blood.
Mr. Reese, what's your occupation, please, sir?
Ranch hand. Where do you work?
The Miller Ranch, mostly. Doing odd jobs. Mending fence, hauling water.
Did you ever haul any water from that pond there at the Miller place?
Yeah, sure do.
You happen to be at that pond on the evening, say, of August 12th?
That's right.
Was it what, if anything, did you see in that place at that time?
Well, I saw him. He was with them two gals. They was fixing to go swimming.
What else, if anything, did you see?
He picked up this shovel and swung real hard. This gal, she went down. She didn't move no more. Then this other gal tried to get away, and he swung that shovel once more.
Hey, man, you're lying. You're lying.
You stinking liar!
Ben, on that Russell appeal, I'm sure I can get to Washington by Monday. Meanwhile, I want you to get depositions from everyone on that list. Well, you find them, Ben. Get me those depositions, Ben. Hey, Wayne.
The door was open.
Well, it wasn't locked.
They say if anybody can get that killer off, you can.
Well, if Ed Tanner proves him guilty, I
know
can't.
he's guilty. My girl's buried out there somewhere.
Nobody knows that, Wayne. Nobody knows yet what happened to your daughter.
It was told in court by old man Reese.
What he said in court is not a fact until it's tested by cross-examination.
When you're a hammering at that old man and getting him to say black as white, you remember one thing. Brandon Hill ain't fit to live. And if you get him off, you ain't fit to live either.
Mr. Judd?
Just remember that.
Evening, Mr. York. And what was that all about?
Find Jamie Holverson?
Yeah, it took a little bit of doing.
Oh, why did he run out of the courtroom?
He wouldn't say. You got a line on questioning Reese tomorrow?
I do, but... Paul, when my father was shot, there were 20 men lounging around that square. One came running to help. Dirty old Reese. Just one man, and the one too feeble to really help. Now I'm supposed to pay that man back by hammering him to a pulp.
Yeah, then why do it for Brandon Hill?
Oh, Paul, you know better than that. Brandon Hill is my client. With that way out line and that insolent grin of his, he's my client. And our whole adversary concept of law is based on one thing. That a Brandon Hill is entitled to the best defense he can get, no matter how anyone feels. I'm not even permitted now to care how I feel. In that courtroom, I'm not a person. I'm a lawyer.
Mr. Reese, you stated that you regularly go to the pond on the Miller Ranch for water.
Yes, sir.
But, isn't it a fact that the Miller Ranch has 9 water wells spotted on the property? Together with storage tanks, a whole electric pumping system? Why did you go to the pond for water?
Mr. Judd, I do go there.
Granted, but why do you go there? You will have to tell this court the truth, Mr. Reese.
You say my name, but I don't guess you remember too well.
I remember you.
Mr. Judd, you remember how I tried to help your daddy?
Why do you go to the pond?
To watch the kids swimming.
Watch the kids swimming. Young girls swimming. Young girls wearing little, if any...
Your Honor.
In other words, you're a peeping Tom. Objection.
Sustained.
Have you ever been arrested for breaking the peeping Tom laws?
Objection.
Sustained.
Have the school authorities ever attempted to charge you?
Objection, Your Honor.
I am going to establish...
Your Honor, there is no possible connection between this line of questioning and the fact that Mr. Reese was eyewitness to a double murder.
Your Honor, I was about to say that I am going to establish the connection.
Your Honor.
Overruled, Mr. Tanner. Proceed, Mr. Judd.
Mr. Reese, this terrible thing you claim you saw at the pond, when did you tell the police about it?
Later.
How much later? An hour or two? A day later? A week? More than that?
Yeah, more.
What made you wait so long?
I was afraid.
Afraid that if it came out you were still playing peeping Tom at the pond, then steps would be taken to have you committed?
Yeah.
What made you finally decide to go to the police?
I never went to them. They come and asked me.
And what made you finally decide to tell them?
Well, they promised they wouldn't do nothing to me
If what?
if I told the story.
What story?
Right story?
Meaning the story the district attorney wanted you to tell?
Objection.
I'll withdraw it. Mr. Reese, was the district attorney satisfied with your story the first time you told it to him, or did he have you tell it again?
Again.
And again, and again? Each time changing it a little till it came out the way he called right?
Your Honor, he's putting words in the witness's mouth.
Mr. Tanner, you did hang it on me like a halter on a colt.
And wasn't that right story just a little different from what you truly saw at the pond?
I don't know anymore.
Meaning, after all this time, all these repetitions, you don't know anymore just exactly what you did see?
I know part.
Do you know if you saw the defendant, Brandon Hill, take a shovel and strike first one girl, then the other?
Maybe one.
Oh, now it's just one. And not the other. And maybe not the first one either?
Mr. Judd, what do you want me to say?
Say if it's true what you said before, that you saw Brandon Hill strike down those two girls. Is that true or is that not true?
Mr. Judd.
Did you or did you not see the defendant strike down those two girls?
I don't remember. Mr. Judd.
Answer yes or no. Did you or did you not see the defendant strike down those two girls?
No, but...
That's all, Mr. Reese.
But I...
That's all.
I saw him.
Down, Mr.
You handled him beautifully.
Turn your face away or I'll put my fist through it.
Ed! I'd like to see you, Ed. You rushed a murder trial with a case so weak it wouldn't prove that rain makes the crops grow. Then to firm it up, you dragged in a stiff witness. You brainwashed that old man.
Brandon Hill's a murderer. He killed those girls, Clint. I know it.
Law doesn't care what you know. It cares what you can prove. You couldn't prove it, so you tampered with a witness. Now, do I have to bring this to the Bar Association?
All right, Clint, I'll agree to a motion to dismiss.
Oh. If I accepted that, then I'd be derelict. My client is entitled to the protection of the law against double jeopardy.
Clint, let's just be reasonable about this. Now, let's just suppose that someday those bodies turn up.
Terry Ann Brentford. Looks very much alive to me.
Proceed, Mr. Judd.
Teresa Ann Brentford. Well, where have you been all this time, Terry?
On the road, covering ground.
Oh, were you alone?
No, not most of the time. Irma Lou was traveling with me.
Irma Louise York? When did you last see her?
Yesterday?
Alive and well?
Yes, sir.
For the benefit of those who had ideas to the contrary, you say you two were covering ground? The ground wasn't covering you.
Mr. Judd, this is not an occasion for levity.
Your Honor, I was just aiming to let folks blow off some steam, of which there has been altogether too much build-up in this case. Terry, tell the court, please, in your own words, just what this was all about.
Well, it was kind of a stunt. A hoax, maybe. Brandon thought it all up. All we did was help.
Who's we?
Irma Lou and me, and Jamie Hoverson, we helped Brandon get up the phony evidence. The blood, Irma Lou cut her finger. I was too chicken for that, so I donated a lock of my hair for the shovel. And then, of course, Irma Lou and we did the disappearing act.
What made you reappear?
Well, I read in the papers that the trial was starting, so I took a bus. Then I hitched a ride to the Ellenville Crossroads. While I was standing there, the cop came along and slammed on his brakes like I was from a flying saucer.
What about Irma Louise York?
Well, she said that since I was going back, she didn't have to. She'd rather stay and see Hollywood. That's what she said. But I guess I know now that what she meant was that since she was going to have a baby, that she would rather go someplace far away from Amos. That's all there is to it, Mr. Judd. That's all I have to say.
Your Honor?
All right, Brandon Hill. You will tell this court the purpose of all this.
I just want to show you people what you were really like. You're a bunch of fat cats, you know that? You write your little checks and you make the laws. And when anything happens to break your patterns or your molds, what do you do, huh? What do you do? You run and you hide behind day before yesterday. I wasn't on trial here. I hope you know that. You were.
And you were all guilty. Guilty as accused.
By me, Brandon Hill.
You're a good pilot. You could have made the airport easily. Just tell me, why did you head in the opposite direction?
Did you find out exactly where you crashed that helicopter? Right near the Ellenville crossroads, where Terry Ann Brendler was picked up. You know, there's a row of limestone cliffs behind that crossroads, pitted with caves. We used to play there a lot when we were kids. Get Tanner and the sheriff. Tell them I'm going out there. Tell them to bring as many men as possible. And flashlights. The dark falls early in those hills.
Bienvenidos, amigos.
Look outside, amigo.
What's that?
And what do you got there?
It's not Christmas presents. It's the gear from the cave, Terry. Jamie practically pointed at it when he crashed. You weren't traveling around all that time. You were hiding in a cave. Isn't that right, Terry?
Yes, we were hiding.
Why didn't you say so in court?
Brennan said not to.
Irma Lou was willing to spend that time in a cave expecting a bait?
That was part of it, man. When they told me about Irma Lou, I figured out a simple solution. She disappears. Parents get all upset, they cry and they wail, and she turns up again, and they're glad to see her and all's forgiven, man. Simple.
Who's they?
Irma Lou and Jamie.
Ooh, so it was Jamie's baby.
Yeah, it was Jamie's baby. Who else, man? He'll tell you so himself as soon as he gets out. Man, don't you? I was trying to do those kids a favor, don't you see that? And Irma Lou was willing to go along with it until she couldn't stand being cooped up anymore.
Was Irma Lou ever in that cave?
Yes.
Then why didn't she use a sleeping bag? This well-used article must be yours. And this was for her. Still fresh from the factory, sealed in plastic. She's dead, isn't she?
Yes.
How did it happen?
It was an accident. All I know is that Brandon took us out to the cave to get it started. The hoax, you know.
Took you or forced you?
Didn't have to force me.
But he did force Irma Lou?
Well, she got scared and changed her mind. First she was willing, then she wasn't.
So Brandon took her by physical force?
Well, what right did she have to change her mind at the last minute and spoil everything?
What happened when you got to the cave?
Brandon asked me to stay there and wait for Jamie while he took Irma Lou to the pond to talk to her and try to cool her off, you know. So I waited, and Jamie brought the rest of the food and things. A little later, Brandon came back, and he was alone. Well, he told us how Irma Lou had slipped on a rock and hit her head. So Jamie went and helped him bury her.
And you still went through with the hoax?
I had to. Brandon explained how the whole town would blame him no matter. He was innocent. So the only thing there was to do was to go ahead and let them put him on trial. Then I show up and get him acquitted, and he... Well, they can never try him again.
It was an accident. Don't hate us, baby. It was an accident, I swear.
And why did Jamie crash his helicopter?
Okay, why? You know?
1, Jamie was the father of the dead girl's child. 2, Jamie crashed his helicopter exactly where he intended to, so he must have been trying to tell us something. 3, Jamie started out on Brandon's side, then he switched. Then he rushed out of the courtroom in a state of shock. And when was that? When old man Reese testified, he saw Brandon take a shovel to those 2 girls.
Man, Reese was lying. You flipped that dirty old man yourself, and you know it.
I got Reese to admit he didn't see you kill 2 girls. But Jamie knew that himself. He knew Terry was alive. But Reese's story had improved under pressure. Half of it was true. Jamie was finding out for the first time that you intentionally killed 1 girl. So Jamie knew that he'd been made an accomplice to a murder. The murder of a girl who was going to bear his child. So Jamie was in it just the same as you. With one exception, Jamie had a conscience.
Man, you're bucking for a straitjacket. You know that day? She slipped on a rock and hit her head. It was an accident, I swear. She slipped on a rock. It was an accident.
A young man named Brandon Hill decided to murder a girl named Irma Louise York. He had a clever, inventive mind. Inherited. He had a few young friends who would rather do whatever Brandon Hill told them than anything their parents told them. So Brandon Hill invented a hoax on the whole town to cover up the murder he was planning. And he committed the murder. And he told his friends it was an accident, so they would go through with the hoax for his sake. And he almost got away with it. There's only one real question left. Why did he do it? Why, Brandon? Why did you kill that girl?
No reason, man. And that's where you stall, baby. You fall all apart. I had no reason to kill her.
That's not true. You had 2 reasons.
And you're flipping out.
2. 1, to gratify your own pathetic little ego by killing someone and getting away with it. And 2, to revenge yourself on this town you hate by showing them up. These 2 reasons, twisted together like these fingers, like stakes, killed one of your friends.
Let's play.
Hey. Come on, you're not... This guy is... Laugh with him.
No.
Go! Look, get out, all of you! Go on, let the girls split, go on! Let the girls go, go on, get out, go on! The rest of us just stay, just for a while, man. Hey, man, you're nuts.
Boys.
What is wrong with you?
Boys, maybe you better just get out of here and call yourselves lucky. Take Terry in. Now, all of you, go on home.
Yeah, come on! Any of you, stay! Come on, I'll give it to you. Any of you, baby, come on. You bunch of fat cats. You're just like this guy. You too, you want some? Dooley! Come on! No! Come! What are you looking at? You see a freak or something? Get out of here! Get out of here!
Brandon, better go out and surrender to the sheriff.
Man, they can't do one thing to me. Double jeopardy, you remember that? They can't touch me!
I ever tell you that?
I was tried by your state laws, and there ain't nothing you can do to me. And there ain't nothing.
Why did you do that?
Daddy.
He couldn't be tried twice.
Kidnapping. He took Irma Lou out there by physical force. Do you know what the penalty is for kidnapping? Life. Oh, Wayne, the law isn't perfect, but we have to live by it. Why couldn't you give it a chance to work?
Why don't you defend me now, like you did him? Why don't you get me off?
Somebody else will have to do that for you.
It figures. It sure figures. Because Wayne York can't pay your price.
No, Wayne. Because Ed Tanner will call me as a witness against you. Because, so help us, that's the law.
Let's go, Wayne.
Take this check, cash it, buy Wayne York another $100,000 lawyer, and send the rest back to Northern India or wherever she is. Here?
Yep, right here.
Four shows with one special theme. It's TV Land Box Set. And this weekend, it's animated spin-offs of your favorite TV shows. The Brady Kids, Laverne and Shirley in the Army, Fonz and the Happy Days Gang, Star Trek, cartoons, every one. Whoa. Coming up today at 6 o'clock Eastern, 3 Pacific on TV Land Box Set. Stay tuned. Another TV Land Crime Stopper is coming up next.